The drones aren't drones. I think it's pretty clear that we've shifted to calling them drones from calling them like UAPs, maybe because that's more palatable for the news. But they're very clearly not drones, right? Their behavior is just not consistent with what we understand about drones, just in terms of size, noise, battery life, the mediums that they can traverse, or medium, I suppose. So what are they? Right? They look like airplanes a little bit, but they're also not airplanes. They resemble airplanes. You could say that they mimic airplanes, but they're very obviously not airplanes. Look at the lighting configuration, right? It's got the shape of an airplane, and it's got some lights.
What is
But
that?
for example, compare the altitude of this plane with the noise that you're hearing. It doesn't match up. If this was 200 feet above the ground, if it was actually a 737, it would be much, much louder. And these are not FAA approved lighting configurations. Right? So they're not drones and they're not planes, but they look like planes and they sound like planes. Do we have any kind of historical phenomenon, any precedent that resembles this? The answer is yes, we do. Going back, let's say, 1,000 years, there are reports of chariots in the sky, of triangles in the sky, of circles, shapes, sticks, and things just like chilling in the sky. Sometimes they're engaging in battle with each other. Sometimes their presence is perceived as connected to human consciousness or to human conflict at the time that they were seen, and that's how they were interpreted. Slightly more recently, there's an 1896 report of airships that hundreds of people reportedly saw in the sky. I think it was something like 20 states, starting in California. And people saw lights, right, shining from these airships, and they heard voices and noises coming from them. And at the time, that was a pretty widespread phenomenon. So to recap, what we see, right, with chariots and airships and triangles and circles and now airplanes, is we see the phenomenon mimicking things that are already embedded in the public consciousness. Contemporary things that humanity already knows and understands and can recognize, that may or may not be in the sky, but they're contemporary, right? And that's what this is again. So if you'd like some further speculation, I suspect that this is what's been in our oceans, that it's been here for much longer than we have, and that we are experiencing what these paintings are depicting and what the tellings speak of. I would encourage anyone to read Passport to Magonia by Jacques Vallée. Starting right from chapter 1, he just dives into accounts of things that sound exactly like what's happening right now. And what's also important is to recognize that they're not hostile. This is not something that's attacked us or hurt us. And in the age of misinformation, it is very possible for things to get out of hand. So I believe it's critical that people remember they're not malevolent, right? They have not shown us malevolence. You can, if you like, you can call them the zookeepers of humanity. Maybe that's a stretch of an analogy. Maybe it's correct. Maybe it's too narrow. But to me, it's probably the closest one, right? They understand we're here. They're a higher evolution of consciousness and existence than we are, and they don't really have any interest in our day-to-day happenings, but they do have an interest in the broad picture of human evolution. Why? I can't tell you. Mostly because I don't know. Jacques Vallée compared it being the phenomenon, he compared it to a thermostat, right? Where when the room is a certain temperature, the thermostat will either heat or cool based on the ambient temperature it's trying to achieve. So here, the ambient temperature is the collective consciousness of humanity, and we are being nudged in whatever direction this thing wants us to go. And it's doing so, at least now, in a way that we can recognize, right? Again, they're not trying to disguise themselves. They're trying to resemble airplanes, but they're not trying to blend in with other airplanes. They're not trying to stay hidden. They're trying to send us a message that they are here, that they have a connection to humanity in some form, right? So I think this is extremely unlikely to be the government, especially because it's a worldwide phenomenon. And I think that things are going to get crazier before they get less crazy. So buckle up. All right, bye.